At 9 a.m., with my hair disheveled and face filthy, I gazed out of the window at the bustling traffic. Goodness me, I actually found myself back 30 hours before the zombie outbreak. I was still trying to come to terms with this bizarre rebirth, when suddenly, my head felt as if it had been struck by the madness of Crazy Thursday, and the pain was excruciating. In an instant I remembered, I hadn't eaten breakfast this morning. That naughty younger brother of mine insisted that I kneel down and let him play horse riding. If I didn't agree, he wouldn't let me go. Ever since this rascal turned 3, he had been used as a pawn by my stepmother. From time to time, she made me kneel down and be his exclusive mount. Today was even more too cool for school. While he was riding me, he kept yanking my long hair violently from behind. I was in so much pain that tears welled up in my eyes. But he, on the other hand, was laughing like a mischievous imp while yanking. My stepmother was fanning the flames beside him, saying that her son was a heroic man wrangling horses, mighty and magnificent, and had a real manly air. I really find this hard to comment on. I looked at my father pleadingly for help. As a result, he kicked me right on the head. My head buzzed, and I felt as if I were on a roller coaster with a serpentine away like Jodundachang, spinning dizzily. The floor in front of my eyes started to float. He also scolded me for being ignorant, and said that I didn't take care of his precious son. Just because I hadn't immediately let the naughty boy ride me and made him cry, he was so heart-broken that it seemed his heart was about to shatter into online snack-like pieces. I hadn't eaten breakfast in the morning, and with this intense pain on my head, I immediately blacked out and fainted. I never expected that I would be reborn at this time. In my previous life, just because I took a rest in this big house, I ended up being trapped here. Eventually, I was callously abandoned by my so-called dear relatives like trash and torn apart by zombies. Thinking about it makes me feel terrible. In this life humph, I grabbed the last bag of clothes and quickly returned to the house in the adjacent building. There were only 30 hours left until the zombie apocalypse. I had to quickly activate the end of the world survival preparation mode. I was kicked out by my father, instigated by my stepmother, to work right after junior high school. I only had over 50,000 yuan saved from working these past few years, but I knew that this amount of money was just a nobody in the apocalypse, far from enough. So I immediately took out my phone and frantically searched for strategies to borrow money from various online lending platforms. Ant Credit Pay, WeChat Lending, Yuqianhua, 360 Finance, Jiaoyan Finance, Suning Finance, Sina Wallet. I applied for loans from all of them within half an hour, and managed to get over 500,000 yuan in total. Anyway, whether I can survive the apocalypse is uncertain. I'll borrow the money first and consider it as buying an end of the world insurance for myself. At this moment, my stepmother and her family of 3 came back after having a meal outside. I quickly locked my phone and put it in my pocket. My stepmother looked at me like I was her enemy, with a look of disgust on her face. She said, "Wang Ziki, your father just said a few words to you, and you pretended to faint. You're growing up and becoming a troublemaker now, huh?" Oh, come on. That kick directly knocked me out. But in her mouth, it was like a tickle. I was a bit slow in being a slave for that naughty boy. And I became the one who had done something wrong and deserved to be taught a lesson in her words. Her mantra these years has been, "You're the older sister. What's wrong with letting your younger brother ride you?" This sentence is even more nauseating than stinky-smelling intestine dish. However, after living humbly in this family for over a decade, I'm used to being treated like this. I just consider it as a test of life. My father also nodded in agreement beside her. The way he looked at me was as if I owed him millions. The naughty boy was even more excessive. Hearing what his mother said, he directly spat on my face. I didn't dare to say a word or look him in the eye. I quickly took out a tissue and wiped it off. I knew that as long as I dared to look him in the eye, I would be accused of being jealous of my younger brother, and then be greeted with a double-team beating from my stepmother and father. I didn't know how many times I had wiped the spittle off my face. Habit had become second nature, and I was almost numb. I glanced at my phone. 10 minutes had already passed. I had to quickly go out and find a safe house and stock up on enough supplies, or I would miss the last train of the apocalypse. My target was the house on the top floor of the adjacent community. That house was only 90 square meters, had been rented out all year round, and was dirty and old. Compared with our 180 square meter 4-bedroom 1-living-room house, it was a typical run-down and small place. Both of these houses were left by my mother. My maternal grandparents passed away early, and now they had all become the property of my Phoenix man father. However, before my mother passed away, she seemed to have foreseen my father's current behavior, and specifically left a will. When my father raised me to 18 years old, he would give me a house and some savings. Last month was my birthday. My father and I went through the relevant procedures. He promised to give me that run-down and small house, but he had been making excuses and dragging his feet on the transfer. I didn't even get the key. As for the millions of savings, he didn't even mention it. I didn't dare to hope for the money anymore. As long as I could get that run-down and small house, I would be grateful. I lowered my head and said to my father carefully, "Dad, I always make my younger brother angry at home. Just as the tenant of our old house has left, I want to move there." As soon as my father heard about the house, his eyebrows immediately knitted into a Chuan character. He said, "There will be a tenant coming to see that old house tomorrow. The house here is so big. Why do you want to live there? Just be sensible at home and listen to your younger brother more, okay?" I quickly put on a smiling face and said, "Dad, I've grown up now, and I'm working. If I have a boyfriend or something, it will be inconvenient, and I'm afraid it will affect my younger brother. Besides, although that house was left to me by my mother, I'm a daughter. I know that the house in the family should be left to my younger brother. After all, my younger brother is the one to carry on the family line. I will also pay the rent every month if I go to live there. The same as the previous tenant, 1,500 yuan. I felt so aggrieved in my heart. They were like Zhou. Without paying the rent, they wouldn't give me the key. When the naughty boy heard about the house, his eyes widened like bells. His expression was like that of someone who saw delicious food and wanted to monopolize it all. My father's face softened a bit when he heard me say this. He said, "Well, you can go and live there first. Now the family is under great financial pressure. You must pay your mother 1,500 yuan on time every month." I felt a little relieved in my heart and quickly agreed. Finally, I was going to get the key. Tomorrow was the apocalypse. Whether you can survive or not is uncertain. "Humph, you snatched the things my dear mother left for me." Just as my father was about to hand me the key, my stepmother suddenly shouted, "Wait!" I knew that she was always the one who liked to make things difficult for me. I wondered what new trick she was going to come up with to rain on me this time. 04. My stepmother snatched the key from my father's hand in one go and tossed it in her palm. She looked at me with a playful gaze, as if she could see that I desperately wanted to live in that house. "Wang Ziki, you can live in that house, but the rent is not right." A big shopping mall was newly built across the street this year. The housing prices and rents in our community have gone up. If you don't increase it by 500 yuan now, there's no way you can rent that house. What a load of nonsense. Although a big shopping mall was built across the street, in the current tough national real estate market, it would be good enough if the housing prices and rents in our third-tier city didn't drop, let alone increase. But there was no way around it. Zombies would break out tomorrow afternoon. The only top-floor house I could obtain quickly was that one, because it was difficult to install solar panels and rainwater collectors if it wasn't on the top floor. Whatever demands she made now, I had to agree to. However, I couldn't let her see that I agreed so readily. I deliberately gritted my teeth and said, "Fine, I'll give you 2,000 yuan next month. But it's so expensive that I can only live there for 1 month. I'll have to look for another house next month." "Not next month. You have to pay the rent in advance now. Other tenants all pay in advance. Since we're family, I won't ask you for a deposit." Looking at the disgusting and smug face opposite me, I suppressed the anger in my heart. I readily transferred 2,000 yuan to her on the spot. But when I reached out my hand to ask for the key, she still refused to let go. "Well, there's something else I need to tell you. You're not a child anymore. My cousin wants to ask you out on a blind date this Sunday at Shui Fengqing Hot Spring. You must go. You understand?" Damn it. Her short and fat cousin, with a pot belly and a greasy face, was in his 40s. His ex-wife was beaten away by him, and he also had 2 sons. Ever since he saw me at my home last year, he had been harassing me. Last year, my stepmother forced me to go on a blind date with him. I managed to detour with the excuse that I was still underage. I just turned 18 last month. Although I'm not a breathtaking beauty, I was the school belle of our junior high school. And she still told me that I had to go on that blind date at the hot spring. That wasn't a blind date at all. That place was for lovers to date and have affairs. She was planning to let her disgusting cousin sleep with me directly and make the situation irreversible. How could she trample on me like this? I cast a pleading look at my father, but he immediately turned his face away. He coughed and said, "Ziki, your uncle by marriage seems quite nice. We had a meal together yesterday. You should go and meet him this weekend. Yet you have to go. If you don't go, uncle by marriage won't buy me a tablet." The naughty boy chimed in at this moment. Great. It seemed that they didn't just have a meal together. They must have sold me out. According to my past experience, if I didn't go this time, the consequences would be serious. It wasn't just a simple matter of being beaten or scolded. I never expected that my own father could do such a thing. I lowered my head, drew the tears in my eyes, and nodded in agreement. Finally, I got the key. 05. After getting the key, I quickly packed my clothes and luggage. 2 suitcases were enough to carry everything, because I didn't have many clothes myself, and cosmetics were out of the question. It was just that the bedding took up a lot of space. As soon as I went downstairs, I informed the locksmith to quickly change the lock core of the anti-theft door of that old house. This way, I wouldn't be afraid that they would open the door and go in later. Otherwise, no matter how many supplies I stocked up and how much I fortified the house, I might not be able to escape from the hands of those three jackals in the end. The locksmith arrived quickly and changed the lock core promptly. Then I hurriedly selected a relatively expensive decoration company online, explained my requirements, reported the sizes of the doors and windows, and placed an urgent order, asking them to bring more workers and materials to my house to replace the doors and windows before 2 p.m. After that, I quickly took a taxi and headed straight for the nearest Mart supermarket. On the way, I was in a hurry to find a decoration company with the best reputation and a relatively high price, explained the requirements, and made an appointment for them to come to my house at 2 p.m. When I arrived at the supermarket, I started my crazy shopping spree. I first rushed to the rice, flour, cooking oil and grain area. Bags of rice, each weighing 50 gene 30 bags. Bags of flour, each weighing 50 gene 10 bags. Buckets of vegetable oil, each weighing 10 gene 10 buckets. 10 gene of various coarse grains each. Since I wanted so many things, a supermarket manager came. I pointed and he wrote them down. Then I came to the canned food and packaged food area. Based on my previous life experience, many times, in order not to attract zombies, I couldn't cook with fire. So I had to stock up on more canned food. 500 cans of ham and luncheon meat. 200 cans of pork. 200 cans of beef. 200 cans of chicken. 200 cans of various fish. 200 cans of various fruits. 100 packs of military rations of various flavors. I then went to the instant food area next to it, such as instant noodles. 50 boxes of various instant noodles. 100 boxes of instant hot pots and instant rice each. 5 large cans of coffee and fruit juice powder each. More than 50 bags of various snacks. 1 box of each kind of bottled beverage I liked, a total of 5 large boxes. Next was the raw meat area. 200 gene of fresh acid-treated pork. It won't do if you don't eat meat for a long time. How can you fight zombies then? 50 gene of beef and mutton each. 100 gene of chicken. 50 gene of various frozen fish. The vegetable area. 200 gene of easy-to-store potatoes. 200 gene of sweet potatoes. 100 gene of carrots. 100 gene of pumpkins. 50 gene of onions. 20 gene each of eggplants, green peppers, Shanghai greens, tomatoes, cucumbers, etc. 10 gene each of various spices and seasonings such as ginger, scallions, and garlic. Then I went to the seasoning area. 20 bags of hot pot bases and dipping sauces each. 50 gene of various hot, pot balls, shrimp dumplings, etc. 5 buckets of light soy sauce and dark soy sauce each. 10 bags of salt and various seasonings for stir, frying and stewing each. The tableware and electrical appliance area. 2 4-door refrigerators with a capacity of 850 liters. 2 large freezers with a capacity of 718 liters. 5 induction cookers. A set of new high-quality kitchen utensils as a backup. In addition, I bought 2 DJI agricultural drones. They can be used for aerial photography and cargo transportation. 2 self-defense stun guns. 2 sets of new quilts. 10 large bags of tissues. 10 large packs of garbage bags. 5 large sets of toiletries and cosmetics each. 06. Because of the urgency of time, I didn't have time to eat lunch. In the blink of an eye, it was 12 noon. Since I bought a large amount of supplies, the supermarket said it could deliver them to my home. Just as I was about to report my home address, I immediately thought it was inappropriate. If I now brought 2 large trucks of supplies home in a grand manner, the whole community would know. If zombies came later and everyone lacked supplies, naturally, they would target me for food. Then, no matter how sturdy the house was, it couldn't stop so many hungry people. I told the supermarket manager that my warehouse at home wasn't available yet. I left my phone number with him and asked him to wait for my notice. I quickly took a taxi to the logistics park near my home and rented a temporary warehouse. I rented the smallest one, 100 square meters, for 2 days. Then I called the supermarket and told them they could deliver. Since the supermarket was close to this logistics park, the 2 delivery trucks of the supermarket arrived quickly. It was around 1 p.m. at this time. To save time, I hired 4 porters in advance at the logistics park. While the porters were busy moving the goods, I called a gas station and ordered 10 cans of gas in case the natural gas pipeline was cut off when zombies came. I selected a nearby water station online and transferred 5,000 yuan to the boss via WeChat, ordering 100 barrels of bottled water. Most of the 5,000 yuan was the deposit for the barrels. When I contacted them, I specifically asked the 2 bosses to deliver as soon as possible. I asked them to deliver everything to this warehouse. Because there were many porters, all the goods were moved in just 20 minutes. At this time, the water delivery also arrived, and it took 10 minutes to unload all the water. The gas cylinder delivery had just arrived. After paying the porters and dismissing them all, yes, I planned to come here by myself at night with a vehicle to pick up the supplies. After it was late at night and quiet, I would quietly ask the movers to drive the vehicle into the community and directly into the garage. Then, I would unload the things from the garage and directly move them into the elevator that led to the underground garage. When I reached the top floor, the family opposite my house was currently on a trip, and no one was at home. This way, I could quietly and safely transport the supplies to my home. Subsequently, I made an appointment with a household solar energy company for 50 square meter solar panels on the rooftop, and paid a deposit of 50,000 yuan online. At the same time, I ordered 8 220V outdoor power supplies with a capacity of 180,000 milliamp hours from this company, with a deposit of 40,000 yuan. I also ordered a rooftop rainwater collection system from a rainwater collection system installation company. The rainwater receiver was to be placed in the attic, and I asked them to come and drill holes this afternoon, because I wanted to take advantage of the noise from the decoration, to secretly drill holes from the rooftop to my attic. On my way home, whenever I saw a pharmacy, I got off the vehicle and bought various essential medicines one by one. Cold medicines, anti-inflammatory drugs, gastrointestinal drugs, painkillers, antipyretics, various external use drugs, bandages, band-aids, and other medical items, various antibiotics, vitamins, and the chlorine dioxide disinfectant that had been proven in my previous life to prevent zombie virus contamination, 10 large bottles, 30 large boxes of antiviral drugs. I didn't know if they could resist the zombie virus, but I stocked them up first. 30 large packs of medical masks, with 100 masks in each pack. Eventually, I carried 3 or 4 large bags. I really couldn't carry any more, so I called for a flash delivery service on the way to send them home. There was no way. I had made an appointment with the decoration company to come at 3 p.m., and I had to hurry back. At 3 p.m., after hurriedly returning home, I was sweating profusely from exhaustion. Before I could catch my breath, the decoration company arrived at this time. This time, I mainly wanted to reinforce the windows and doors. There were a total of 4 windows in the 3 bedrooms, and 1 kitchen downstairs in my house, and 2 windows in the attic, 6 windows in total. First, replace all the windows with double laminated glass windows. They were absolutely sturdy and safe, and they were more soundproof than the original glass. Because of the urgency of time, I had previously asked the decoration company to use quick, drying cement. This kind of cement was used for emergency repairs at airports. It was relatively expensive, and claimed to solidify in a few minutes, and maintain a high engineering strength. Then, I asked the master to install manganese steel anti-theft windows outside. This kind of steel bar was very strong, and it was difficult for ordinary mechanical tools to deform it. But it still wasn't safe enough. What if some bad guys used a cutting machine to cut it outside? So I had to add an extra layer of protection, and install an internal anti-theft window from the inside. This way, if bad guys came and broke the outer anti-theft window, I could still gain some counter-attack time with the inner anti-theft window. The innermost part was replaced with a thick, 100% opaque black bed curtain. On the indoor part of the main door, I installed a more advanced explosion-resistant alloy door. This way, it was double-layer protection, and even bullets couldn't penetrate it. Drilling installation, using special fast-acting fixing and filling materials, and using quick-drying cement. Soon the thick alloy door was also installed. During this period, some neighbors downstairs in this building came to see. I explained that this house belonged to me now. I was decorating it and planning to live in it myself. Since they knew it was my family's house, they didn't say anything. Shortly after the decoration started, the companies installing solar panels and the rainwater collection system also arrived. I asked them to plan and drill holes in advance, but they asked me to produce property permission certificates and the like. I didn't have the time to apply for them, so I promised to add 5,000 yuan in construction fees to each of the 2 companies. Then I wrote them a guarantee that if there were any disputes, all the responsibilities would be on me. In this way, the holes for the solar panels and the rainwater collection system were quickly drilled. Because my building was in a relatively remote corner of this community, and coupled with the noise from my house's decoration, no one came to question. I heaved a sigh of relief. At 7 p.m., because I had informed the decoration company in advance that this was an urgent order, and asked them to arrange more people, and I paid 50% more money. They worked very quickly. By this time, they had not only pasted the tiles around the doors and windows, but also cleaned up the garbage. Calculating, there were more than 10 people in this decoration company, and it took a total of 4 hours. 07. After seeing off the people from the decoration company, I casually ate something, and then began to plan the space inside the house. Although this house was old and shabby, it was still a small 3-bedroom apartment of over 90 square meters, coupled with the 50 square meter attic attached to the top floor. The total area was quite substantial. When arranging the items, first of all, I had to set aside a master bedroom. Although the end of the world was approaching, I didn't want to live in a bitten way. If I wasn't bitten to death by zombies, but itch myself to death instead, that would be really unfair. The kitchen was originally not large, and I couldn't put too many things in it. So I gave priority to piling things up in the 2 secondary bedrooms. Since this house was rented out before, there weren't many things inside, just a shabby bed, and a simple wardrobe. I found a moving company from the various small advertisement phone numbers on the corridor wall. They arrived in a few minutes. I asked the movers to move out all the shabby beds, simple wardrobes, desks, etc. in the attic and the 2 secondary bedrooms. The movers said that if they were to take away and throw away these sundries, they would need to charge extra. In the end, they actually asked me for 2,000 yuan, saying something about a garbage disposal fee. Due to the urgency of time, I didn't bargain with them, and just paid the money to get it over with. Time quickly reached 12:30 at night. At this time, the community was very quiet. I drove several vehicles into the community. When I reached the entrance of the community, I told the security guard at the gate that I was moving today. The young security guard looked at the 4 vehicles behind me and said in surprise, You have so many things. It's not that many. It's just that some things are newly bought. Look, one vehicle is delivering a refrigerator. One is delivering a TV. Another one is delivering a sofa. And the last one is delivering a large wardrobe. I bought them from different stores, so of course it seems like there are more vehicles. I just finished cleaning the house this afternoon, so I'm only moving in so late. The 4 vehicles behind were all box trucks, and the security guard couldn't see anything amiss. He nodded with a look of understanding. Yes, I planned to transport all the supplies in when there were basically no people outside the community to minimize the risk of exposure. I successfully led the 4 vehicles into the underground garage of our building. The division of labor was clear. 4 porters helped me move the supplies, and the solar energy company and the rainwater collection system company went to the rooftop to install the equipment. Coincidentally, it was the 16th day of the lunar month, and the moon was very bright. Coupled with my special reminder that I was afraid of disturbing the neighbors' rest, they were very quiet throughout the whole process. It was obvious that although they felt that I had a lot of requests and they had to work at night, they still cooperated very well because of my financial ability. There was no way around it. I paid these people nearly 10,000 yuan in overtime pay. Subsequently, I directed the porters to stack supplies such as flour, rice, and canned food in the secondary bedrooms. It took a full 2 hours to move them. The supplies filled 2 whole rooms. After another hour, the construction teams installing the solar panels and the rainwater collection system were also done. Since they were drilling holes on the rooftop, I specifically instructed them to do a good job in waterproofing and preventing leakage. I also asked them to prepare quick-drying cement and other quick-drying materials in advance, so the construction was very fast. Finally, before they left, I asked them to cover the entire rooftop with a thick black raincloth, which I bought from the rainwater collection system installation company. This way, if the property management asked tomorrow, I could say that I had no place to put the furniture I had replaced and temporarily placed it on the rooftop. The main door of the stairwell leading to the rooftop was also locked with a new large lock I bought. This was to prevent anyone from actually checking. As long as I could hold out for one day tomorrow, no one would pay attention to this issue anymore. As for the solar inverter, controller, battery pack, and the filter and water storage tank for collecting rainwater, they were all placed in the other half of the attic space. In this way, the attic was also filled to the brim. I paid off the remaining balance, and these workers left neatly. It was 3:30 in the morning. Finally, it was all done. In the end, I lay motionless on the sofa in the living room, without any strength left. After setting the alarm clock, I fell into a drowsy sleep. The next morning at 8 o'clock, I remembered that at exactly 3 p.m. on this day in my previous life, the zombie tide in this city broke out sporadically. Our community started to be attacked by zombies at around 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. Recalling that terrifying zombie tide, I couldn't help but shiver. 08. I had to hurry up even more. There were only 7 hours left. I had to make the final preparations, and I had to prepare weapons. I quickly went downstairs and headed to a large hardware store not far from my home. I bought a long-handled axe and a short-handled axe, 2 traditional sharp-bone, chopping knives, 2 sharp-boning knives over 30 centimeters long. I also spent a large sum of money to buy 2 manganese, steel horizontal knives in the style of the Tang dynasty, which were nearly 1 meter long and privately hidden by the store owner. These things were not easy to transport, so I had to buy an extra large suitcase from the adjacent luggage store and take them home. At the same time, I also changed the telephone number of this house at the property management office and told the property management that my father had changed his mobile phone. Since I often came to the property management office to handle temporary residence permits and other procedures for tenants before, I was very familiar with the property management. So the property management readily changed the phone number. At the same time, I also told the property management about my house decoration and that I would temporarily place some furniture on the rooftop for a day or 2. The property management said they knew and just urged me to move it away as soon as possible. I let out a long sigh of relief and went home, lying on the bed as if paralyzed. At 10 a.m., there were still 5 hours until the zombie outbreak. Finally, all the preparations were complete. There was no shortage of food, drinks, daily necessities, or self-defense items. The protection of the house was also brought to the extreme. Now I finally didn't have to worry anymore. I hoped that God would bless me and let me hold on until the world was liberated and the government and the army came to rescue us. At this moment, Aiyinyin felt that something was not right in my heart, as if I had forgotten something important, which made me very uneasy. Suddenly, I thought of my father, stepmother, and the naughty boy. I couldn't underestimate their shamelessness. Just thinking of this made my whole body tremble. The past pain, combined with the nightmare of being killed by them in my previous life, made me so uncomfortable that my body twitched. After a while I pulled through. I stood up, let out a long sigh of relief, and my eyes became determined. I made a phone call. At 1 p.m., I sneered as I looked at the surveillance footage on my phone. The naughty boy was having a great time on it, throwing the sofa cushions all over the place. He was also constantly clamoring for me to go home and play riding horse with him. My father was kneeling on one leg, coaxing his precious son, and promising to bring me back tonight. Yes, I had installed surveillance in the original home. The process was very simple. I had a friend who worked in a telecommunications company, and their company was recently having an event. The owner of the phone number with a monthly package of 128 yuan could now get a set of home surveillance equipment. Although we were friends, we weren't that close. I directly transferred 10,000 yuan to him and asked him to go and promote it immediately. And I asked him to do something so that I could also have the access to this surveillance. According to my stepmother's nature, she would definitely take the free offer. My friend was very efficient. He finished the installation in less than 10 minutes after arriving at the door. At the same time, I also asked him to install one for me for free, which was placed above the door of my house, in a place that ordinary people couldn't reach. Soon my father's phone call came. I hung up immediately. Wait a moment, the good show was about to begin. 09. At 3 p.m., I stood in front of the window, staring at the street outside the community. At this moment, the howling cries of zombies came, and in an instant, a group of hundreds of zombies surged over from the main urban area. I let out a sigh of relief. That's right, it was exactly the same as in my previous life. However, for me, everything was different now. I quickly ran to the rooftop and tore off the black cloths on the solar panels and the rainwater collection system. Then I locked the door leading to the rooftop with a large lock again. When I got home, after carefully checking the doors and windows, I leisurely washed a plate of fruits, sat on the sofa, and watched an idle drama while eating. There was no way around it. Although I had a large capacity refrigerator, I still had some fresh vegetables placed outside. As for the fruits, they were easy to rot, so I might as well take them out and eat them. What about when the vegetables and fruits were all eaten? Don't worry, I also prepared a lot of vitamin tablets. In addition, my tablet and computer were not idle either. I first downloaded tens of thousands of ebooks. Then, according to my usual preferences, I filled the devices with classic movies, TV series, variety shows, and high-score documentaries. Soon it was 5 p.m. I started to open the tablet and study the recipes to prepare dinner. Pig's trotter soup with kelp, stir-fried meat with sweet bamboo shoots, steamed perch, and stir-fried Shanghai greens. 3 dishes in one soup. And then I turned on the rice cooker to cook the fragrant wuchang rice. While I was busy, the zombie army that had flooded into the community outside had already attacked. The people who didn't have time to go home had been torn to pieces, and the households with doors not tightly closed had also been wiped out. Listening to the constantly popping WeChat group messages, as if they were crazy, I casually turned off my phone. At 8 p.m., I had just finished dinner and was enjoying the after-dinner fruits. Suddenly, there was a power outage, and the house was instantly plunged into darkness. The working fan also stopped. It was summer, and although it was very hot, I didn't dare to turn on the air conditioner for fear that the sound would attract zombies and people with malicious intentions. I endured it like this for 3 days. Unexpectedly, at noon on the 4th day after the power outage, the temperature suddenly rose very high. Feeling the scorching glass with my hand, I felt that it was at least 40 degrees outside. There was no other way. I turned on the air conditioner in the bedroom. The chassis of this air conditioner was against the corner of the community, and there should be no one noticing it here. Just as I was lying comfortably on the bed watching dramas, my phone suddenly showed my father's phone number calling. After the zombies came, he had never cared about or contacted me. Now he actually took the initiative to call me? Girl, I heard that there's a power outage in your entire community. Why do you still have electricity there? When I heard this, my heart skipped a beat, and I had a bad feeling. 10. No, if there's a power outage everywhere, how could I have electricity here? You're still lying. I can hear the sound of your air conditioner. My stepmother's shrill voice came from the phone. Look at this photo. If my cousin wasn't downstairs in your building, I really wouldn't have known. I opened the photo and saw that it was exactly the steel anti-theft window outside my house. It seems that you really made preparations. The doors and windows are all reinforced, and the electricity you're using is from the installed solar panels, right? Although there's still no power outage in our community for now, it's estimated that it will be soon. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and get ready. We're coming over at night while it's dark. Before she could finish her order, I directly hung up the phone, blocked her number, as well as my stepmother's phone number in WeChat. I let out a long sigh of relief. Although they still found out, I had reinforced the doors and windows, and they couldn't get in. Even if they knew that I had a lot of food here, now that there were zombies everywhere, they didn't dare to gather in large numbers. As long as it wasn't a situation where there were a lot of people who could break through the walls, I wasn't afraid. I clicked on the surveillance footage, and found that my father and stepmother were swearing furiously. This little bitch. I've always said that she can't be tamed. Look, not only did she know the news in advance and not tell us, but she also doesn't want us to go over. She deserves to die. My stepmother's face was Jungming, as if she wanted to eat me alive. Damn it. I should have strangled her when she was a child. It was just that I was soft-hearted for a moment and promised her mother that I would raise her. You're such an idiot. She's not your biological daughter. You should have fed her some medicine and killed her as soon as you got the money and the house. Right, kill her. The naughty boy thought it was very interesting. When he heard his mother say that, he immediately chimed in. What? I wasn't his biological daughter? Then everything I had suffered all these years made sense. Before, I thought I had a tough life. That after having a stepmother, I also had a stepfather. It turned out that I wasn't his biological child. I held back the tears that were about to flow out, and took a deep breath. Originally, out of consideration that he was my biological father, I was going to help him survive in the apocalypse. Now it seemed that the large amount of savings my mother left me, and the house worth millions of yuan, were enough to repay him for everything. I didn't know him anything. It was my kindness to help him in the apocalypse, and it was also my duty not to help. My heart became firm. When I looked at my phone again, the surveillance screen on the other side went black. It seemed that there was also a power outage in that community. At this moment my phone rang again. It was a strange number. Girl, it's your father. There's no food at home now. You can't just watch us die. After saying that, he sobbed and started crying. Let's see how this jackal was going to perform. 11. You still remember when you had a high fever that wouldn't subside when you were 3 years old? It was me who accompanied you in the hospital for 7 days and nights. And you managed to pull through. Goodness me. Does he really think I don't remember those things? I was relatively precocious and could remember things since I was 3. I remember that year he left me in a private clinic in the community and just ignored me. Fortunately, the doctor auntie in that private clinic was an old neighbor of my mother before, and they had a good relationship. She pitied me so much. She kept sighing. So I was taken care of by that doctor auntie there for 7 days and nights. She didn't inform him to come and pick me up until I got better. Later, I learned that my mother had left a sum of medical expenses there before she passed away. Thinking of my mother, I couldn't help but feel sad. Let's not talk about all that. Just think about what you've eaten, worn, and spent all these years. Which one wasn't provided by me? You can't forget your roots. He really knows how to talk. Let's not mention that the large amount of child support my mother left for me was all spent by him. Just take my school expenses all these years as an example. After I finished primary school, he wanted me to drop out of school. It was only because I cried and begged, and even picked up trash to exchange for money, that I managed to finish middle school. All these years I had no dignity at school. A girl was constantly called a trash picker every day. Do I really not care about the strange looks from my classmates? Didn't I have a boy I liked? How dare he say this? Girl, there was just a power outage in our community too. And my phone is almost out of power, and can hardly be turned on. I know you must have stocked up a lot of things there. You have to help your family. I gritted my teeth and suppressed the hatred in my heart. I've also felt a bit itchier recently, and now I remember the kindness you showed me when I was a child, Dad. I'll send you some food right away. As for the electricity, I still have a backup outdoor power supply here. I said this while trying my best to hold back my nausea. I decided to use my professional agricultural drone to send them 5 kilograms of rice. I would also send them an outdoor power supply with a capacity of 180,000 milliamp hours. I bought 8 of them before. Anyway, I had an abundant supply of goods. I would give them a little hope first. I was really curious about what bizarre things they would do in the future. The reason for sending the power supply was to keep the surveillance working. This drone was used for spraying pesticides in agriculture. It could carry 30 kilograms of goods, and also had a real-time camera. An outdoor power supply weighed 7.5 kilograms, and adding the 5 kilograms of rice, it was only 12.5 kilograms. There was no pressure on my drone at all. Each drone cost me nearly 20,000 yuan. I carefully placed the drone on the awning downstairs through the window. Then, after the drone took off, I hung a small bag of rice and the outdoor power supply on it. It was quickly delivered to the destination. 12. After the supplies were received, the surveillance footage resumed. I saw this family swearing furiously in the surveillance. This little wretch. She must have ready-to-eat cooked food and meat and other things there. But she only cares about eating them herself. Now she only gives us raw rice. I sneered in front of the phone. Hee hee. Give you meat. Why don't you just go to the sky? This little bitch. I didn't expect her to be so heartless. We're begging her now, so let's bear with it for a while. When there are fewer zombies in a few days, we must go over there. Then she'll see what's coming to her. My father, I know that man said, when we go over there, we have to skin her alive, and then just drug her and kill her. Haha, her mother died from taking slow-acting poison. She won't be able to enjoy that. This time, we'll just send her to meet her dead mother directly. The vicious woman said fiercely. Right, she's just wasting food by being alive. It's better for her to die sooner and get it over with. Boom. My head buzzed. So my mother was actually poisoned to death by this wretched couple? My heart ached so much, and I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. This wretched couple, I want you to die a miserable death. I couldn't wait any longer. I was going to take action today. I took the naughty boy's phone number out of the blacklist. Dear little brother, have you eaten yet? Eat what? You have no good intentions. How can I eat raw rice? This damn naughty boy. Sister is sorry for you. I apologize to you, but I have no choice. The drone can't carry any more things. However, I have all kinds of steaks, chicken legs, and mini canned fruits here. By the way, I also have sufficient electricity here. I can turn on the air conditioner and play games without worry. But unfortunately you can't come over. Dear little brother, just bear with it for a while. When there are fewer zombies outside in a few days, you can come over. What? You have meat there? And you can turn on the air conditioner? Hurry up and get ready. Make me 10 steaks and 10 roasted chicken legs. I'm coming over right away. Hurry up. Well, there are so many zombies outside now. Before I could finish speaking, the naughty boy hung up the phone impatiently. Then I immediately turned on the phone's surveillance. I saw the naughty boy throwing a tantrum desperately, crying until his eyes rolled back. The wretched couple was so anxious that they knelt beside him and begged him to calm down. But he refused to relent at all and insisted on coming over right away. Finally, the wretched couple discussed and had no choice but to decide to come over in the dark when the zombies were resting at night. 13. At 8 p.m., I saw in the surveillance that the wretched couple, along with the naughty boy, had packed their bags and set off. They didn't bring much food, but they brought a kitchen knife and a dagger. I immediately launched a drone. This drone was used to monitor their whereabouts. This drone's camera had a night vision function and was very clear. Then I launched a second drone. I fixed a used mobile phone on this drone, and it looped the howling sound that I downloaded from the internet, which was specifically designed to attract zombies. This sound had been proven effective in my previous life, and was extremely useful. About 6 or 7 minutes later, the drone monitored that they had reached the east gate of our community, but unfortunately, the gate was blocked by a car that had been breached by zombies, and was lying across the entrance. This was exactly what I had planned in advance, because I had learned about all the situations on the road in advance through the drone. At this moment the other drone, playing the ear-piercing horn sound, also flew above their car and hovered there. This sound, which was stimulating to the zombies, immediately attracted dozens of zombies to rush over. Since the house near the east gate had long been occupied by zombies, this place was the stronghold of the zombies in this community. Well, of course, this was also part of my plan. They would either die or be severely injured this time. The drone captured that this wonderful trio had been surrounded by zombies, and the naughty boy was so scared that he burst into tears. When the naughty boy's parents saw that the car couldn't move anymore, they could only brandish their kitchen knives and fight their way out. They left everything behind. When the family of 3 fled to the front of my house, this wonderful couple was already half dead. When they reached the door, they desperately knocked on the door. But I just sat quietly on the sofa without moving, watching them calmly through the phone's surveillance. Girl, open the door quickly. The zombies are coming behind us. Bang! 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 Seeing that I didn't open the door, they started kicking the door frantically. But my door was specially prepared for the end of the world. It was the kind used by banks, and could easily fend off robbers. I wasn't afraid of their attempts to break it at all. Seeing that kicking the door didn't work, they quickly called my phone again, but I still hung up immediately. Now these people finally dropped their pretenses, and started swearing furiously. Bitch, open the door quickly, or I'll beat you to death when I get in later. Hee. They still thought of me as the person who would tremble with fear when they threatened to beat me before. I still sat there without moving. After a while, they were tired from swearing and changed their tone. Girl, we know we've been a bit biased towards boys over girls all these years. We know we were wrong. After all, you're the older sister. Just think of it as giving in to your younger brother. Xiaobao, quickly say something nice to your sister. The naughty boy was probably scared by the zombies and softened up at this moment. Sister, please open the door quickly. I won't ask you to play horse, riding with me anymore. Let me in, and I'll let you ride on me. 14. Hee. With the naughty boy's chubby figure, who was over 120 pounds at less than 10 years old, I would find it greasy and disgusting. I still remained as steady as a mountain. Just like this, the family of 3 made a commotion outside the door for half an hour. When they saw that I wouldn't open the door no matter what, they stopped. At this moment, a greasy fat man came up from downstairs. My stepmother called out cousin. So he was the one who had previously revealed my situation to my stepmother. I really didn't know that they were relatives before. I remembered that he lived alone. You're really useless. You couldn't even get the door opened after all this time. I originally hoped to take refuge with you. The fat man was very angry, so he was also eyeing my supplies. Perhaps it was precisely because of this plan that he didn't reveal my detailed information to the people in the community. But now I wasn't afraid anymore. It had been several days since the power outage, and most people's phones were already out of power. Moreover, with so many zombies outside, most people didn't dare to go out at all. Where would they get the chance to gather and break into my house? The fat man also used his fat body to slam into my door forcefully. When he saw that the door didn't move at all, he turned around and went downstairs. After a while he came back with a hammer. He smashed the door from LY and finally used the hammer to damage the lock. But it was still useless. The fat man let out a long sigh. Your daughter has a really heartless heart. When I get in, I'll kill her sooner or later. There's no other way. Cousin, you take our son and come back to my house with me. What? The naughty boy was the child of my stepmother and her cousin? My father's eyes immediately turned red. What are you talking about? When did my son become yours? Wife, tell me, is this fat man talking nonsense? My stepmother's eyes flickered, and she immediately took the fat man's hand. It's true. If it weren't for the fact that your wife was relatively rich back then, who would have taken a fancy to a useless person like you? My father almost went crazy and rushed up to tear at my stepmother. As a result, he was kicked into the corner by the fat man, and immediately collapsed. He was indeed a useless person and also blind. The stepmother and the other 2 turned around and went downstairs. After a while, my father knelt in front of my door and howled. He was crying with snot and tears. Girl, open the door for Dad quickly. I finally know who my real relatives are this time. You're the only relative I have left. Open the door. I'll treat you well for the rest of my life, and I'll leave all my property to you. Are you sure I'm also your biological daughter? I turned on the voice function on the surveillance app. My father's face froze. Don't try to argue. Your good wife has just told me that I'm not your biological daughter. I tricked him. As long as you tell the truth, I'll give you a piece of bread. Otherwise, you can just fend for yourself. Seeing that he was exposed, a look of hatred appeared on my father's face. But he hadn't eaten much for more than a day. Finally, He couldn't resist the temptation of food and told me the truth. It turned out that I was the daughter of my mother's younger sister. My real biological mother was still at school when she was deceived by a scumbag and got pregnant. In the end, she gave birth to me and then committed suicide by jumping into the river. My mother happened to be infertile by birth, and finally, she found a Phoenix man, hoping to make up for it with her property. Who would have thought that this heartless man would actually poison her to death? 15. I've told you everything. If you don't believe me, you can ask that heartless woman. Hurry up and open the door. Expectation flickered in my father's eyes. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. You still want to squeeze in when I open the door. Forget it. That bag of bread is in the electric meter box on the wall opposite you. Get it yourself. My father's complexion changed drastically. It seemed I had really guessed it right. The preparations I made in advance were unexpectedly put to use. He quickly took out the bread from the electric meter box and gobbled it up in a few mouthfuls. After eating, he still seemed unsatisfied. Girl, although I'm not your biological father, have you forgotten the grace of raising you for all these years? I don't ask for much. Just give me some food every day, and I'll find a place to hide by myself. What do you think? He put on a pitiful look again. Seeing this, my heart softened. Thinking that I had called him father for so many years, my hand involuntarily reached for the doorknob. But then I thought about how cruelly he had beaten me half to death in my previous life, and how he had even given me to the zombies leading to my death. I immediately hardened my heart. You don't think that bitch won't tell me how my mother really died, do you? That bitch. You're all bitches and deserve to die. Seeing that I had shattered his last hope, he simply gave up completely. Just you wait, little bitch. Sooner or later, I'll get in and kill you. After saying that, he went downstairs. Because through the drone, I found that several zombies had entered our building after their commotion. He also sensed it. I kept watching the entrance of our building through the drone. Half an hour later, he actually sneaked out. What a lucky guy. Another half hour passed, and he came back to the door. This time, he was carrying a few bricks and an iron bar. Girl, you'd better think it through. I've brought tools this time. Let me in now, and we can still be father and daughter. But if I have to pry the door open myself, you're dead. Hee. If you're so sure, then start prying. Why are you still talking softly? Cut it out. You're so bad at lying. You're really a loser. No wonder your wife cuckolded you, and you raised someone else's precious son for so many years. How does it feel? Seeing that he was determined to come in and kill me, I also let go of my concerns and taunted him mercilessly. It felt so good to vent the anger of all these years. Ah, bitch. I'll kill you. He cursed while using the bricks and the iron bar to attack the door frantically. Although I had a more solid door inside, the noise was too loud. If it went on for too long, something unexpected might happen. I immediately controlled the drone with the mobile phone to play the screams that were attractive to zombies outside the window of the stairwell. Soon, zombies kept pouring into the corridor of our unit. By the time he reacted, it was too late. He was quickly surrounded by the approaching zombies. Soon the screams stopped. He was dragged outside the building by the zombies. One of his legs and one of his arms were torn off by other zombies. Zombies also need energy, and they love fresh flesh and blood the most. Another 7 or 8 days passed. I ate, slept, and lay around playing with my mobile phone and tablet every day. The days were quite enjoyable. One day, the wailing sound came from outside my door again. It turned out that the fat man, along with my stepmother and the naughty boy, had come to knock on the door again. This time the naughty boy took the lead. Sister, please have mercy and open the door. I'm starving to death. I was ignorant before. Please forgive me, for the sake of calling you sister for so many years. 16. At this moment, my stepmother knelt down with a thud. Girl, please have pity on us. I was worse than a beast before. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I deserve to die. But your brother is still young. You can't watch him starve to death. As she spoke, she slapped herself in the face. I remained silent and watched her act. She slapped herself for a while. Seeing that I didn't react at all, she put down her hand awkwardly. You two are really useless. Little girl inside, if you don't give us some food, I'll kill this little brat today. What? Isn't this his biological son? You're threatening me, who has no blood relation with him, with your own biological son? Has your brain been infected by the zombie virus? Before, he had protected the naughty boy tightly. It seemed that he was really starving these days. Was this the so-called, even a tiger doesn't eat its cubs? But he did? Zeke, please, for the sake of him being a child, give us some food. We really have no other way. He's still a child. After all, you've lived with him day and night for more than 10 years. Even if he were a dog, you'd have some feelings for him, right? The naughty boy was also quick-witted at this moment. He quickly knelt down and kowtowed to the camera. Sister, please give us some food. If you don't, he can really do anything. Please save me. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my head. In my mind, the pain and humiliation of being hacked with a knife and urinated on by them in my previous life came back. It was like a huge nightmare that was engraved in my heart. I patted my head and hardened my heart. Stop daydreaming. Don't think you can deceive me with sweet words. If I open the door, won't you come in? If you come in, will I still have a chance to live? So leave quickly. No matter how much you make a scene, I won't give you any food. The man looked at me hatefully and kicked the naughty boy. The naughty boy directly hit the wall, and blood flowed from his forehead. Ah, his father, this is your own son. Are you crazy? My stepmother quickly protected the naughty boy. You were so promiscuous all those years. Who knows if this child is mine? Little girl inside, if you don't come out and give us some food, I'll be ruthless to them. As he spoke, a fierce look appeared on his face. Seeing that the fat man wasn't pretending, my stepmother immediately knelt down and kowtowed to me continuously. Girl, I beg you, please send us some food quickly. You can ask me to do anything in the future. You can even ask me to die. Then go die. It can be considered as paying for my mother's life. I replied through the camera. My stepmother knew that I definitely wouldn't give them any food this time. She completely broke down. She directly hit her head against the door. You can't treat me like this. I beg you. It was your father who did that. It has nothing to do with me. I no longer entangled with them, and directly flew the howling drone to the window outside the corridor to summon the zombies. Seeing this, the fat man knew that I would never give them any food. He directly picked up one person in each hand, and went downstairs. No matter how my stepmother and the naughty boy struggled, it was useless. He must be using them to attract the zombies, so that he could search for food elsewhere. The next day, I found 2 more corpses downstairs. It seemed that the mother-son pair had been torn apart by the zombies. The fat man came again. It seemed that he was really starving. He had collected a lot of tools these days, hammers, nails, chisels, a sledgehammer, and started to break the door violently. However, I was eating melon seeds while watching his progress through the surveillance. Half an hour later, he heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, he managed to break open the outer anti-theft door. But he found that there was another door inside. It was a thick white alloy door. This time, no matter what he did, he couldn't even budge it an inch. What a joke. This was a door specially used by banks to guard against petty thieves like him. Seeing that he couldn't open it at all, the fat man started to cry. He knelt down and kowtowed. Little girl, please have mercy. I'm starving to death. Don't you hate your stepmother and brother? They're both dead. I was just avenging you. You're a beast who even killed your own son. If I open the door for you, will I still be able to live? Get lost. Otherwise, I'll use the drone to attract the zombies over. I refused him firmly. Another half a month passed, and the fat man had become a skinny man. When he went to another building to look for food one day, he was pounced on by a charging zombie, and never got up again. I was eating an apple at that time. Looking at the footage transmitted by the drone, I couldn't help but sigh. This fat man was really strong before. Now he had become so weak from hunger. I lived such a carefree laid-back life. Most of the households in the community had been broken into by the zombies. A few months later, the zombies started attacking each other, and there were fewer and fewer of them. Traces of the activities of living people gradually appeared in the city. Another half a year later, almost a year after the zombie outbreak, a group of people in white, protected by the army, started going to each community to vaccinate the survivors. The country had developed an effective drug to treat zombie infections, and began to send the army and volunteers to clean up the city. I was saved, and I still had a lot of food left. The end of the full text.